Welcome to today's video where I will be making my bullet journal or planner bullet journal setup for April. These are all the spreads that I'm going to be using in April for managing my time, keeping track of everything, managing my day-to-day. Right now, I'm getting everything I will be using today. For the setup, I will be using markers like usual and colored pencils. I haven't used colored pencils for a setup since December, I think, and I'm glad I found a way to incorporate them this month. I am excited to start the setup, so let's begin. For the lettering this month, I have full letters that I am coloring in completely. I am going to have 2 pages for my month cover this month. It was nice trying something new last month, but I prefer having 2 pages so that I don't feel limited in space. The left is going to be where I draw, and the right is the month title, which is what I'm starting with right now. Last month, the custard theme was very detailed, and because of that, I wanted to have a simpler, easier to draw theme this month, kind of wanted a break from something more intricate. The theme for this month is going to be cherries and ribbons, the main focus for the theme being the cherries, and the ribbons are for decoration that goes well with the frames that I'm making. I came up with a theme from the 2 last bullet journal setups I've made. In February, I was using stickers, and some of them had cherries on them. And then for March, I was putting cherries on top of the custard puddings I was making. Having cherries present in my last 2 setups made me think about cherries more than I usually do, and the reason why I chose cherries for my April theme. I also thought that just having cherries wouldn't look as nice, so I added frames and ribbons to the theme. I'm happy that I finally have a theme where ribbons being included makes sense. I have wanted to draw more of them since I did my February reading journal setup, but haven't found a way to incorporate it in one of the themes I've made. Then for the frames, I wanted to try something different than the typical square or rectangle frame like I did last month, so I am making cloud-like or puffy frames. I am not sure if there is a name for this kind of frame, but the thing it looks most like for me is a cloud, so I'm going to be calling it a cloud frame in this video. Now for the color palette, the colors are reds, pinks, and beiges. I only have 1 red marker, but I have a lot of red toned colored pencils, which is why I am coloring in the cherries with colored pencils, but using markers for the frames and ribbons and everything else. I actually like the contrast that is created with the use of colored pencils and markers. It looks so pretty, and it's a nice contrast that works well together. I am keeping 2 lines a day the same as always. It's 2 lines a day and the pages are facing each other, which is what I prefer. I like how organized the spread looks with the outline I have around it. The only issue is I don't have a lot of space to draw in, but I want my theme to be present in these pages. This time I am having the cherries in the corners so they won't get in the way of the lines I write in. The cherries might not be as present as they are in the other spreads in the setup, but they're still there and they're not cluttering up the page, which is nice. I don't think it is visible on camera, but I did use a lighter colored pencil to draw square grids on the back of the cherries, just a subtle addition that I wanted to have to the background so it wasn't plain. Then brain dump, I'm keeping it simpler this time. I am trying something different with where I place the title. I usually like to keep them in the corners or in the middle, not really doing anything different, but this time I'm having it below the cherries. This was actually hard for me to do because I like having my titles either at the top or bottom of the page. I like having a consistent place to put them. So having it in not completely at the bottom of the page was something I didn't want to do. But I remember that I'm trying to be more flexible and try new things. So I put the title not completely at the bottom of the page. Having the cherry frame on top of it makes it look like the cover page in a way. It's going to be interesting to see the spread at the end of the month and see if it looks as nice with writing all over the place. The cloud frames are more time consuming to trace than the square frames that I had last month, but they're also more fun to make. They look so pretty and fun, definitely worth the extra time that it took. What I like about making these ribbons is I can make them however I want. I can have the ribbons to be longer or shorter. I'm not drawing the same ribbon each time. I love drawing these ribbons. It makes my setup look so much nicer and prettier, and they're just a great addition to my theme this month. Content Planner is back to being next to habit trackers. I have changed my setup from how I did it last month, where I had Content Planner in the front, and I'm having it back in the back before the calendar. I tried having it at the front last month, and I didn't like having it there. For Content Planner, I like to have extra space to write notes or plan out things, which is why I cut from the page next to it, so that I can use 1.5 pages rather than just one page. The same goes with habit trackers, where I use an additional half page to add trackers, so having these two next to each other makes the most sense for me, since they both benefit from cutting half a page. I'm still using a calendar for planning out my content. This way works best for me because I can look at everything in the same place. We're almost in April now, and I'm still uploading consistently. Using the content planner has definitely helped me with that, and I'm very glad that I have been uploading consistently. Then for habit trackers, I did cut out the piece that I am using in between Content Planner and habit trackers. And I did this later on than I usually do in my setup because I noticed that it is easier to draw and then cut out the extra space rather than cutting first and then drawing. When I cut first, I have to be careful that I don't go onto the other page by drawing first. I don't have to worry about going onto the other page. I don't know if that makes sense, but to lessen the possibility of me making a mistake, I am drawing first, then cutting out the extra page. I have noticed that I'm not using the sleeping tracker as much as I want to. I have been tracking how many hours of sleep each day, and I don't think that is working for me. I have to remember what time I went to sleep and then at what time I woke up and do the math to know how many hours I slept. That is why I'm thinking for next month I will change it from tracking the hours I sleep each day to the time that I go to sleep and wake up. So rather than having 1, 2, 3 hours for the vertical line, I will have 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 12 p.m., 1 a.m., etc. to track the time I fell asleep and the time that I wake up. I feel like that way it will work better for me than what I currently am doing with counting how many hours I sleep. This way I can also see my sleeping habits, like what time I usually sleep at and what time I wake up mostly. Hopefully next month I will remember to add 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 12 a.m., etc. rather than 1, 2, 3, etc. Can't wait to try that out next month, hopefully. I wasn't sure how this was going to look on paper when I sketched it out, and now looking at it, it is so pretty. I'm actually surprised at how nice this looks. Having a ribbon on the frame was a nice touch that for me makes the whole theme come together. For calendar, I went back to a setup I had for February rather than March. It was nice to try something different for March, but I didn't like having the calendar all over the place. And by that, I mean having to cut out pages rather than full pages. Hope that makes sense. So that is why I went back to how I had it for February. I have 2 whole pages for the calendar, but have a page in between that I will cut so that I can view my entire calendar. I like having a page in between the calendar that I can have my goals and tasks of the month and look at them each time I look at my calendar and check my schedule for the month, what I'm going to be doing. I also cut out from the right side of the calendar so that I can see my weekly spread tabs once I start making them in the next spread. Now for the calendar format, I am changing it. I am not having the typical calendar this time. I am having gaps between the days of the week. Monday is going to be separate from Tuesday and so on. So I have a gap between each of the columns, but the rows are still going to stay together. I hope that I explained that myself well. I wanted to space out my calendar and I think it looks good this way. Monthly tasks and goals are going to be in the mini tab. This time, I know I did monthly tasks differently last month where I had it in the front of my setup and it didn't really work that well having it at the front for me. It works best for me having it next to the calendar so that I can have it with the goals in the back. Also, having it next to the calendar can remind me about what I'm doing in the month and plan accordingly. Why I like using a bullet journal for my planner is I can change my setup as much as I want. If I want to try something new out, I can do it without a issue in my next setup. Then if I don't end up liking what I did, I can change it back the next month. I am very particular with what I want in a planner. And for that reason, having a bullet journal works the best for me. I have all the spreads that I want without an issue. It can be tedious to plan, sketch, and complete my setups each month, but I use it more often than what a typical planner. And the time that I spend sketching or making these setups, I use to read audiobooks. So I feel like I'm doing more with my time rather than just spending it making my setup. And now we're at the last spread for the setup, which is first weekly spread of April. This is from April 1st to April 4th. Since it is only going to be for 4 days, I have more space. I wanted to try out a more organized layout for my weekly spread this time, which is why I am making a rectangle for each day. Hopefully the amount of space I am giving each day won't be too much. Having a more structured layout for my weekly spreads also fits well with my cherry and ribbon theme. The layout looks so pretty and organized that I might go back to having a more planned out and structured layout for my weekly spreads rather than a more freestyle, not planned out style, but we shall see. Well, this took longer than I expected having a cherries theme would take, and that is because of the frames and ribbons that I added to the setup. But I think it was worth it because the setup turned out so pretty, and this has been one of my favorite setups to make. It is so pretty, I'm very proud of it. I love the ribbons, and using colored pencils for the cherries worked out well. Thank you for joining me in making my setup for April today, and until the next video, goodbye. And also a goodbye from Blobby, who has been watching me make this setup the whole time patiently. Goodbye.